Rise. Ms. Hamilton, please.
Sure. Or you'll join me. Father, we come to you now and we just thank you and praise you for this sweet time of year where we have the opportunity to just slow down and soak in your presence and just remember how much you love each and every one of us and what you did for every one of us, the incredible price that you've paid. And we just thank you for that. We praise you. We just ask for your presence here today in this meeting, that you guide and direct the actions of the commission, that you're with them and you give them peace and wisdom. And Lord, thank you for everybody in the room that's attending. We ask that you give them safe travels back to their home or workplace as they return. And Lord, we just thank you for your love and your protection and your grace and your mercy, most of all for your forgiveness. And we just ask that you help each one of us to reflect more of you this season and always. It's in his son's precious name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
Okay, item 1, approval of agenda.
I'm going to approve the agenda as today.
I'll second. Motion made and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Approval of minutes of November 14th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 5 yes votes. Public request. Does anybody want to address the commission at this point?
Yes, sir, I would like to.
Hello, Dennis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just want to make this Alan Carter. Just want to make sure you can hear me, buddy. I wanted to address the commission on the ethics ordinance. I think I have a little bit of a problem. I know there's some citizens that have a little bit of problem with this, the way that this is written. I believe that our county commissioners are elected to run the county. And no disrespect to our county manager, whether it's whoever it is. I believe that in section 5, when we talk about the county manager's powers and duties, I believe that's a real overreach of a power grab. I understand that the county manager has a lot of authority and has a lot of duties, and there's a lot to do, but I would like to talk a little bit about, this reminds me of what Bill Richardson did with the school boards. And it basically took power away from our school boards to where they don't really get to do anything but hire and fire the superintendent. And as far as policies, now we have to go by the PED. But as far as our county commissioners, I know that they still get to set our policy, but you know, our employees in the county need to be able to have a voice. And to me, this is almost, if everything has to go through the county manager and bypasses the commission, which I believe that's their responsibility. And I believe that that's our right to be able to reach out to our commissioners. And I know back in the old days, before we had a county commissioner, if we had a road problem, then we'd call the county commissioner and they would make that decision. And there's just a whole lot of things in this ordinance that I think is overreaching as far as the duties and the power of the county manager. And I believe that I believe this is the wrong way to go with this ordinance. And I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Alan.
Anyone else?
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I just wanted to pretty much echo what Mr. Carter had to say. I looked over the ethics ordinance as much as I could and tried to break it down. There were some things that were, quite frankly, concerning. And there were some things in some areas where it would seem to say one thing, and then you go down a little further and it almost seemed like a contradiction. And so there was, I felt, room for confusion, that there was some things that weren't quite clear. I too was a bit concerned about if it seemed like our county manager was representing in a way that I felt there were some things that more duly belonged to the county commission. And so if this is something that's coming up today on the agenda, as it is, I would just ask, and would the county commission please consider looking at it again, taking a longer look at it, look at some things that it's been a few years, as far as I know, since this has been done. Might be a good time to go back and look at it, see, are these things working? Are these things not? Do we need to tweak, amend, change, take off, add something, or completely start over again? But there were, again, I'm just saying that I don't have a whole list in front of me, but I did write all over it. And I am just really concerned about some things that are also in that ethics ordinance. Thank you, Commission.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Thank you very much. Moving on to item 4, elected officials, department head, Mr. Terry. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are y'all today?
Good to see you.
You too. Well, it's kind of my year-end report for the probate office. Once again, it's been an honor to serve the residents of Roosevelt County and helping them with their probate issues that they have throughout the county, throughout the year. A little bit lighter year this year. Looks like we're going to be somewhere around 41. We was almost to 80 when we had the pandemic. So a little bit less this year. 30 of them was probates. 11 of them are miscellaneous probates. A miscellaneous probate is, if you will, a proof of authority. That means that the descendant probably passed in another county or over in Texas, but they owned property in Roosevelt County. So real simple terms, that means that they piggyback off of the probate that's filed in Lubbock County to where they can dispose of or transfer real property in Roosevelt County. So that's a proof of authority. So we had 11 of them. We had some small affidavits. If it's under 50,000 or less, you don't have to do a full probate. You just do a small affidavit probate. So we had some of them as well. So as of today, we're around 41. So that's where we're going to be. I told the commission back in midsummer that we was going to have another probate class for the county residents. We're not getting anywhere really because of scheduling with the legal resource for the elderly. So I have a proposal to ask the commission and our manager and maybe our attorney, if our county attorney is on a retainer, would there be any way that maybe our county attorney would want to present like maybe a 1 hour conference or a 1 hour information meeting to our residents just to describe probate, describe what a will is, what a trust is? Do you have any expertise in that, sir?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
Well, to tell you the truth, sir, I did probate and wills about 25 years ago, and I haven't done much since.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I think I could probably find somebody that would would be a lot better qualified and be a lot more helpful.
I just think that we really need to do that. And that I ran on that. I want to inform our residents and maybe get a different perspective than just the legal resource attorney from Roswell. So, and I would be glad to donate that out of my personal fund if it's a charge,
Well,
but just to come to have maybe an hour, 2 hour, maybe little educational seminar.
I could try to find somebody. The thing is, for like our firm, we're government lawyers, we're municipal lawyers mostly. And so probate rarely enters into the practice, but I could see what I could find.
Perfect. That was just be a request and kind of an idea that I had to the commission today. And if not, we're going to go back to their legal resource. But I think if we honed in on what a trust is and maybe why you have to probate in the state of New Mexico, it's a wonderful tool if the family members get along. If they don't get along, then it can be kind of a disaster. But I can't provide legal counsel, but I can tell them what the state statutes say, and that's what I do. That's what I've tried to done for this whole year, and as the probate judge in Roosevelt County. Once again, it's been an honor. I wish you and your families a Merry Christmas, and look forward to serving you and the Roosevelt County residents in 2024. Any questions from the council or from the commission? Good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for the work that we're doing at the fairgrounds. The McAllister room and Jake Lopez looks wonderful. And as we go forward with y'all's, I believe y'all are gonna approve a grant to get working out there. I think it's on the list. If we can have open communication, because so much of what happens with y'all's buildings will affect what goes in our fair book and all of that. So as long as we stay in communication with each other so that I can make sure what I'm putting out is accurate for the fair.
Okay.
But we totally appreciate everything. It's looking really nice and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Lale.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I have your general fund balances for September to present. So your beginning cash in general fund was $2,507,235.63. Yes, sir.
Is your speaker on by any chance?
It's green. Can you hear me now?
Not really.
I mean, turn it on and back off.
Okay, keep talking. I gotta see what number.
Hi, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No, nothing, nada. Hello. Am I the only one? Y'all heard everyone else? No, yeah, right.
Mine's not on.
Caroline, have I been soft-spoken? Yes, no? Hello? Hello? You want me to just speak louder? I can do that.
That'll work.
Are you sure?
Sure.
What about online? They can hear me online, maybe? Is there another microphone that picks up? Nobody wants to know about money anyway. That's what happened.
Test 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
I'm sure I am.
Test.
Testing one.
Dead in
Can
the
you
water.
hear me now? Dead in the water. Hello. No. I'll just present and get out. Just talk loud. But I'm not you. Oh, you're the soft-spoken one. Nada. Test. Test. Oh, maybe we did just kind of go down a little. I don't know. For a minute. need a reboot.
Breaker, 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 breaker. Down.
Hello, hello. Test, test, test.
Unfortunate, and we'll probably get it.
Oh,
back on. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay, I'll not worry about trying to speak into there, and I'll just try to speak a little louder. Okay. So we have your September general fund ending cash balances, or beginning cash, sorry, was $2,507,235.63. You had debits of $186,086.64, and you had credits of $1,229,963.28, leaving general funds ending cash at $2,363,358.99. And of course, you have your other balances from all the other funds. Does anyone have any questions over those balances? Nothing there. I'll give just a quick scenario. As most of you know, it is property tax collection time. This will be Monday is actually the official last day that you can pay at least your first half of taxes before penalty and interest kick in, because the 10th falls on the weekend, and so they extend that grace period until Monday. So either get your taxes come in to see me, or get your taxes postmarked by the 11th. That's about all I think that's going on right now. Any questions other than that? Okay, very good.
Thanks,
Thank
Larry.
you.
Detention center. Okay.
Good morning. So our facility count is at 71 this morning. We have 14 females and 57 males. We have 35 out-of-county detainees, and we expect that number to rise. For our billing, we billed out to Clay County $113,750. For Chavez County, we're at $3,750. For our MAT program, we have 15 participants, 15 in group counseling, 15 in individual counseling. We have 9 waiting to be interviewed to go into that program. We have 5 on medications. We have 7 in GED. We do have our new parenting class, but that will resume in January. So we've finished up for the semester with that. And then we have our new yoga program, and all of the MAT participants are in that as well. So at 15. And I stand for any questions.
Was there any city billing? City Portales?
I have not done the city billing yet, but we will have numbers probably by the end of the week.
Thanks, Kayla.
Thank you.
Okay. Carol? And we'll need to go into
I move
healthcare.
to go into indigent, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Second. You move, we go into indigent.
Yes, I'm doing healthcare.
Motion made and second to go into indigent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Hey, go ahead, Carol.
Okay. This batch has a total of 19 claims, medical claims, for $12,196.48. I recommended 11 for approval for $6,197.48. Total disapproved are 8 claims for $5,999. For Fedco physicians, we've got 3 approved and 3 disapproved claims. 1 patient had Medicaid. 1 patient was not an inmate for date of service, nor has a application on file. And 1 patient was brought in by Portales Police Department. For Roosevelt General Hospital,
I've got 5 approved claims and 2 disapproved. 1 patient had Medicaid, and 1 patient was brought in by Portales Police Department. Concord Radiology, there were 3 claims and 3 claims approved and 3 disapproved. 2, a patient was not an inmate for this date of service, nor did they have an application. And 1 patient was brought in by Portales Police Department. I stand for questions.
Any questions? I'm not sure if this ended. The so outstanding claims at RGH, is that part of the indigent deal?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Where are we at on those outstanding claims with Roosevelt County Hospital versus there's discrepancy with the city police. I guess an inmate was brought in by the city and they want to charge us. He never was booked into the detention center, and he's wanting to charge us for the funds. Where are we at on that? It's been going on for a while.
So
Bills are
we are responsible for all inmates once they're booked.
right, but not after but
Not before they're booked.
but not before they're booked. So, but where are we at on this I know we had several emails here sent to us. I've got them pulled up right now, and from back in August, I believe.
Emails from RGH?
From RGH, there was Ms. Hamilton sent them out to us.
Yes.
And yeah, from August 22nd.
So
But anyway, it's an outstanding balance at RGH to the county that billed the county. Where are we at on that outstanding balance?
So these are claims for inmates that were brought in by Portales Police Department or other entities that were not booked into the jail yet. And so the ones that are brought in before they're booked, it is the entity's responsibility of who brings the patient into the emergency room.
So I guess we're just
That
it's a
one,
battle.
I
I guess
think-
it's just a battle.
I think
Between us
that
and the
one you're
city.
talking about never was booked.
He never was booked,
So it's not our case, I think.
but the city's claiming it is. Am I right, Michael?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Criswell, I think that's what the city's claiming, but I just don't see how the county is responsible for the city's inmate prisoner. There's just no authority that I could find. I actually looked for it. I couldn't find any state case law or statute that said that the county is responsible for arrests that the city makes
Right.
in terms of the medical care. And I wanted to look, and I haven't got a chance to, but I think even the old MOU that's since expired might have even said something to that same effect.
So how's this going to get? Is it just going to be sending bills, and then it is going to go into a court case or about this, or what? How's this going to get resolved since it's been going on since August?
Well, that may become part of the court case, but it doesn't. I don't think it is at this point. I haven't filed the court case yet, and I can tell you more about that later and why. But I haven't filed it just yet, and but I guess that's something that theoretically could be addressed in it. But there's no authority, and I guess the short answer is there's no authority for Roosevelt County paying for the bill when the city brings an inmate to the hospital. That's
As I was reading the emails, it just, it's just the word, I guess Chris Williams' word and the RGH, but RGH is sending us a bill too, and it's just a back and forth deal. So I was wondering how we can get it resolved.
Is it still showing as an open invoice to Roosevelt County?
the invoice itself is not necessarily addressed to Roosevelt County. I met with the CEO of RGH right before the holidays to discuss this. We don't have an official legal opinion from Michael yet in writing, so that's why we don't have anything further. Carol forwarded me the email as it escalated, and I met with RGH, obviously to express our understanding they want to get paid, but also share that in this instance, there was a detainee that was transported, that there are certain policies that they are screened, as y'all are aware. So if they're involved in an accident, or if there is a use of force or an injury, or they come in and they do not screen to be medically clear and determined to be medically fit for incarceration, then they have to go to the emergency room and be screened for everyone's protection. First and foremost, for the detainee themselves before the housing, as well as obviously the county and everything. And that's the instance in this one. So it is still pending. They understand that we were looking into it. I advised that we had asked for a legal opinion. And again, as soon as we have something in writing to share with them, this was just the initial research that he just shared with me.
All right.
Okay, Dennis, you want to bring us out?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll move to come out of indigent.
Motion made, second, come out of indigent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5 yes. Motion passes. And I will make a motion to approve Carol's report.
Second.
Made second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Caliche crew is currently working on Road 20 between New Mexico 206 and South Roosevelt Road P. This is part of Capital Outlet Project. And the cattle guard crew will be finishing up in Milan, moving to South Fedora. And been out pothole patching. And the route blades are out making their rounds. And then Ms. Flores was able to come up with the raid grant again. So we'll be using some of that money to dispose of tires and whatever we pick up around the county. So I don't know if she wants to speak on that. She knows a little more about it than I do. So
we have 3 amnesty days for the raid grant, where people can bring their scrap tires to the road department, and then they will transport those to Clovis for recycling. Shredding.
So when?
This is the agreement now, so we haven't set up the dates yet.
Oh.
Yeah.
They have.
Carol just got the agreement after the agenda came out. So it'll be on next month's or next meeting agenda, December 19th, and it'll all be happening after January, between January and June. So there'll be public service announcements, the budget for that, and the 3 tire amnesty days. Because their specifications, obviously, we aren't going to take truck and tractor tires. They have to be certain specs, and we don't take from tire dealerships and repair shops and things like that. So all of those specifications will be out in the PSAs, and we'll be able to present more on that at the meeting next 19th.
stand for questions.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Hamilton.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Couple of things just to run down. So the plumbers have been authorized to start repairs at the Jake Lopez building. That's just under about $10,000. They ran a camera, found several old collapsed lines and issues that are triggering to the plumbing issues. At this point, we don't have anyone booked in there for the next several weeks. And they are just waiting on the backhoe contractor so they can get started with that. The contractor has started renovation on the training room in the Kakawade area and are working on that. And the repairs have been completed on the sidewalk at that drainage the drainage issue right there as it was coming down to the windmill park. The contractor is close to wrapping up and completing the painting of the new fencing around the entrance. So that kind of takes care of those renovations. The audit has been completed and submitted. It was submitted on time. It was due December 1st to the Office of the State Auditor, and that's been done. Everything is confidential at this point until they give us the authority to release, and at which time we will publish on our website just like every other year. We do have meeting scheduled with the architects to finalize the courthouse entrance plan renovations. They're writing those detailed specifications so that we can release the RFP that the commission authorized to get the doors and the entrances replaced. The architects are working on the final draft of the master plan for the fairgrounds to present to the commission in early 2024. The Fair Board has met and reviewed this, as well as we've met with the extension groups. We've had several public meetings, and it was posted around the fair, so we've had lots of publicity about the plan so that people can take a look and provide their input. So that will continue on, and they'll present a final plan to y'all for y'all to modify with some of those additional modifications y'all requested. Then we will be engaging an architect and engineer for the design of the EOC. We met with some local contractors to see if they could flesh out a draft plan, and it's going to exceed the scope. So at this point, we'll need to utilize an architect and engineer to start that process. At the last meeting, commissioners, and I think the city also asked about the option of the commission and the emergency services GRT. So I did reach out to David Monteith. He is the contact at New Mexico Tax and Rev. He is the local government liaison. And I asked him if he could provide information about what is available in terms of GRT, and if the emergency services option was as there. He said the emergency services option was grandfathered in and is no longer available to implement as the old increment. Counties have the ability to implement under the 402 county-wide with a voter referendum and earmarked. At the local level, we have 0.25% under the 402 cap. I did ask if there was any historical data or anything he could share showing that this had been done before in Roosevelt County, and he said there is no historical data available. And the city has just shy of a full 1% available under their cap. So far more than the county has available. But I did check into that as requested. The next thing is we are working on our bold step with communication vehicles, and I've been working with ENMU just about 6 months. We have a master student that has actually agreed to come on board for practicum hours, and we're working with the university professor on the final specifications of that. But they'll be able to get practicum hours and launch the vehicles, which will start with probably, I'm guessing, Facebook with the social media, but we'll have a little committee and people will be able to participate, and we'll be able to figure out who's going to post and how all that works and what the policy is going to need to look like. But this is going to be his program for his practicum hours. So we're excited to have that started. I know Commissioner Lopez had asked for the debt service bond for this meeting, and I had advised that we had to engage, or we are engaging bond counsel for the resolution. This was not something we could do in-house because of the specificity of the payoff and everything. So we anticipate that we should have that for the commission for your agenda at the next meeting, as long as bond counsel has that prepared. We were able to have the detention center scheduled after the when y'all recess, we'll be able to go do our inspection, your annual inspection over there, to be able to note at the next meeting. And then we'll need to have a road and fleet workshop after the 12/19 meeting, if that works for everybody. And then the last thing is just to highlight real quick. So Cannon Air Force Base took a group of, I think about 23 of us ended up going on our civic leader trip. It was a very fast-paced and detailed scheduled trip, but they took us to the first one was actually there at Lackland in San Antonio. And we got to see the coin ceremony and a class of new airmen graduate. Before the graduation, it was really awesome. We saw 27 individuals sworn in as U.S. residents because they came over, and not only did they go through the airmen rigorous training and selection process and everything, but they also became U.S. citizens to represent their country. So it was a really powerful event. And we were there. We met with several entities throughout, local civic leaders. We talked to people from various chambers. We flew down to Del Rio. We saw the next stage of training. We were able to see the next stage of advancement in the hours and everything that's required with their continuing education. And then the last stint that they took us to was there at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. And we had a chance to meet again with civic leaders, talk about the community engagement and what that involvement looked like and how the community supported the base. And the base was part of the community altogether. And obviously we know that we have some key economic drivers here in Roosevelt County. Agriculture is one that we're all familiar with, but the university and the Air Force Base, those are obviously key drivers as well. And so it was great to actually spend time with our wing commander, Colonel Bergen, and his chief Fleck to be able to kind of see their vision, hear their heart, and get a better understanding of what they feel like their airmen need from our communities. So we really do appreciate the time. It was very educational, very impactful, and very enlightening. And so I just wanted to highlight the ability of a better understanding of what we can do to help support them as we move forward. So other than that, I think those are my high points. So I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Hamilton. Commissioners. Mr. Lopez.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Rod.
Like, I think Mr. Dominguez, we've had several potholes there on P, like 7 and P, built around the town, filling those. Thank you. I did notice that there, I guess it would be Q, from where Kilgore quits there and head south there. I think that's Q. About halfway down there, there's a big one opening up. You get a chance to look at that. But thank you for prompt action on those. I appreciate that. I did get a call again on 8, Roosevelt Road 8, off the second curve on Arch Highway, New Mexico 88. Off that second curve, it goes south there by Carolyn Sanders' house. And I went and looked at it, and it is a very ill state of disrepair. Edges are breaking off in points. There's potholes in it. And again, we've talked about this before. There's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on that, which I can't figure out why on that little narrow road and all those potholes there needs to be a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. The speed limit on Arch Highway on 88 is 55 miles an hour, and it has white lines down the side and stripes down the middle and passing zones and curve signs. You put the same speed limit on a little narrow road that people have to dodge potholes on. It's kind of an accident waiting to happen. If you got 2 cars coming 55 miles an hour, somebody's got to miss a pothole. Somebody's going to have to get run off the road. So I think it's developing into a very dangerous situation and I'm looking forward maybe to the, you said like December the 19th, they have a road workshop. I think that's something we need to be taking a look at because I consider that 88 growing to that 8 going off of 88, growing into a health hazard. So we need to be taking a look at that. But Mr. Dominguez, thank you for fixing all those potholes. I know there's so many of them. There's a lot of work. I think you do a full-time job doing that. But thank you.
Tina. Roy Lee.
I kind of agree with Rod. There's several of those little blacktops down in my district We got one that runs from 114 to the Rogers Highway, and one off of come north of Causey. There's a like 4 mile stretch there that and they've done some work on it, and it ain't bad. It's not bad. A lot of truck. There used to be a lot of truck traffic, but it's the truck. I think the truck traffic died down a little bit now since the dairies are kind of closing down and everything. But I know there's some black tops down there. There's one going to Garrison Highway on 458. It runs down south there to Richland. Used to be a community called Richland down there. You know, if we don't go to, and then the little black top that goes off south up there north of Lingo, that black top goes off 114. It goes off towards them dairies. If we don't go to maintain and get this micro seal or whatever chip and re-chip seal, we're going to lose them. And there's several. I know there's another one, little black top goes off 458 off down there to where Herschel Carmichael lived. You know, and I think they've already chilled. I think they've chopped it up. Am I right? One, didn't that little black top get chopped up and re-deal with cleat and stuff? It got so bad. It got so bad we lost it. You know, and I think that's what's fixing to happen. But there's several of those little roads out there. But I made this deal right now. We got to get these cattle guards done. I know there's one on Y that filled in back there in August, left there last August. It's completely full, and it's 2.5 miles off 114. Them cattle keep getting a little closer to the highway, and one of these days one of these nights they're going to be on the highway, and it's going to be bad, and nobody's expecting it, you know. But that's a serious cattle guard we got to get cleaned. I mean, it's wash plumb full of sand. And I sent Miss Hamilton some pictures of it the other day. We got to get it done as soon as we can.
Yeah, we're going, I think we'd like 3 or 4 millions in, and then we'll come back to that area.
Good. All right. Well, that's all I have. So.
Thank you, Roy Lee. Item 5, new business. 5A, consideration of acceptance of donation from Herschel Carmichael of a 1926 road grader. Mr. Criswell.
Herschel Carmichael called me up here week before last, and he's got a 1926 blade that he wants to donate to the county to put on exhibit, like up there at the fairgrounds with them other old implements that are up there. And Weldon, his dad, had that thing. And anyway, Weldon is selling. He's moving. He's selling out and moving. He's selling out this Saturday, having a farm sale, selling it out. And he would like to donate this blade to the county. Like, you know, I think it's a nice piece of history. You don't see very many of them around. I've never seen one. And but anyway, I thought it was awful nice they would be wanting to donate it. You know, and I could see how it needs to be out where the public can see it, because I think it'd be pretty neat for the road department to have something off out there at the fairgrounds. People can look at it as part of the county history, you know, making these roads around here for such a long time. But anyway, and I'd like to make a motion, I guess, to accept this donation from.
I did have a question before we got into that. What kind of conditions are the wheels?
I haven't seen it. But he told me that they used it every year, and he said it hasn't been run. They parked it here about 15 years ago, and it hasn't been run since. But they had it in line to sell, but he told me that he drug it out of the line, and to where that way it wouldn't be sold as for scrap iron, you know.
Okay.
But and like I say, I'll run over there and look at it. And but anyway, but I'd like I say, we'll just put it to vote, and I'd like to make the motion to accept this donation off of Herschel, this 1926 road grader.
No, second that.
Okay, motion made and second to.
You know, right before school is out for the summer, Tallahassee Schools been putting on a little some workshops out at the fairgrounds.
Right.
And one thing that they asked was if we could bring some old tractors. So I got called and got some folks to bring some old antique tractors to it to show the kids, and had a good turnout. I think this would be a good to complement that workshop to let the kids know that, see some of the older equipment, how things develop. It'd be good if we had something like that, that we would have there someone at that workshop to talk about that piece of equipment. So,
Right.
so Roy Lee, I would nominate you.
Well, I wouldn't know nothing about it, but I do. Y'all know Herschel. He's like, and it's a shame Herschel's moving. He's moving off down by Houston, be closer to some grandkids and everything. But I think it is pretty neat for the adults and the kids to see how, what made this country, so.
Okay. There's a motion and a second on the floor. We'll now take a vote. Dennis?
Yes.
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 5 yes votes. Motion passes. Item 5B, discussing consideration of additional capital outlay request. Ms. Hamilton and commissioners.
Yes. So good morning again. I received one late request from La Casa, and Severino asked that they be considered to add to the construction of a metal storage building to store the van and the mobile dental clinic and things, and he gave the specs. I advised that our ICIP was actually due in September, and that we had to turn it in, and we do it annually, and we already have it published. But we do have the opportunity to go through aging and long-term services for these type of ICIP requests. So I do think that it will be better fit to go through the aging and long-term services for the senior and the health center area over there if we can. And if not, we can certainly try to work it in for y'all's ICIP next year. We did make the change that y'all had requested, but that was obviously before we were informed that the grant that Ms. Flores will be presenting, the state recreational grant, we had not been awarded. And then they had funding apparently that came available. We will have 6 months to expend that. So we're going to do the very best we can. They know that we have a short time frame. And so we're going to knock out everything that we can that's shovel ready. When that application was submitted, Ms. Flores will go over that, like everything that was included in that first phase that y'all had kind of fleshed out that was easy, shovel ready, the covered horse stalls, doubling of those places, things like that. So we can talk about that a little bit later, but I wanted y'all to be aware because we do still have needs here at the courthouse with repointing the brick, which is going to be probably at least $500,000 that we need to do. And then we're endeavoring on the replacement that y'all have already authorized for the doors and the approaches and the concrete steps on those three entrances on the north, south, and west. So those are what's presented here. That is what came through La Casa, and they had individuals there before. Commissioner Lopez, back when your sister was there, I know you'll remember, they would do a separate ICIP for them, and I think that may be what we need to do with the aging and long-term services. So we're happy to help out. I know that Carla and Carol can both look into that, and they're going to be much more familiar with that and can help those entities with what we're needing over at those facilities too. But we do have more of the final. We did continue to flip. So Fairgrounds is now number 2 and the courthouse is number 5. So those switch places. And that was the presentation we have now. We still have some leniency as we can request as we need to and make those applications to our legislators. I would stand for any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question, members of the board. Amber, I did hear most of everything that you mentioned during that presentation. Is that inclusive of the ADA accessible doors that they did not install whenever that building was built, which is a little redundant because they serve 90+% seniors and a lot of them are in walkers and wheelchairs. So is that inclusive within those proposals?
No, sir. What they asked, well, let me see. They asked for a metal storage building to accommodate the senior vans, mobile dental clinic, a building that's 60 by 60, 2 overhead doors, 1 entrance door. That's all I see right now. It doesn't have anything about the ADA.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there was a lot of tests with their new vans that they were stealing. I guess it was a catalytic converters or something. People were stealing those for, I guess they're worth some money. But I would like to include those ADA accessible doors if possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, anybody else want to add anything?
Nope.
Does anyone of the commissioners want to make a motion or ask, or what do you want to do?
We don't have to take action on that one unless there's something new to.
I really myself think we ought to come with a game plan for sure on the building that we're talking about. And then,
Mr. Chairman?
yeah, just a minute, Mr.
Oh, I'm
Lopez.
sorry.
We take action on this at another meeting. Y'all thinks?
Yes, I think we need to hear some totals and stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
Numbers.
Okay, Mr. Lopez, go ahead.
I was basically going to say the same thing. If we could have everything written as what it's going to cost, like the cost estimate projection, and then I would like to take action on it sooner than later. I know it's probably a little too premature right now.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we're moving on to item 5C, discussion and possible action on rural fire departments. Ms. Dixon?
Yes. Okay, so I just want to thank all the rural fire departments for being here today that are here. So when we were doing the agreement with the city, I had several rural fire departments contact me. They were nervous. They were worried about a lot of different things, and there was a whole lot of misunderstandings, I think, about the way things were going to work. And so I just wanted to go ahead and give an opportunity for the rural fire departments to be here. And if they had anything to say, add to, I'd had some that have complained about the agreements that we do with the rural fire departments and things. And so before I get into what people have said to me, I want to give the opportunity to any of the rural fire departments that want to speak up and say what you have. If you have a problem with whatever it is with the way that we're doing the agreements with the rural fire departments.
Can I speak on with the Portales deal?
You can.
If we don't get something done with Portales, it's gonna start costing
Chief.
resident lives.
Can you go to the microphone, please, so they can hear you
Do I have
online?
to?
Mhm.
All right, Commissioners, good morning. If we don't get something done with Portales, this will start costing resident lives. My department, we rely on Portales a lot for ALS intercept. There's times I don't even have a basic EMT available, and they are very gracious and they cover our district when we're not able to. So my opinion on the opinion of Arch Fire Department, I talked to Chief Bilberry this morning. He said he agrees with everything that I said. I can't say I speak for him, but he agreed. We got to get something done. This is, to me, top priority. This is as high up as roads. To me, it's above the fairgrounds. We got to get something done because this will start costing resident lives, and then we're into possible lawsuits, and I don't know what all's involved, but I don't want to know what's involved there. So as far as Portales, that's where Arch Fire Department stands. We must do something and make it happen. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good morning. Dale Chenal with the Latta Fire Department. I guess we have some issues or misunderstanding. I guess we'd want more understanding about the coverage that's in the contract where it's asking us to possibly come to Portales and cover more of Roosevelt County than what our current boundary lines are. And we certainly have a big problem with that. We have mutual aid agreements right now that we agree to come and help when needed, but we don't want to start pick up more. From fire service to EMS, we certainly don't want to, I believe it's suggested that we possibly come up to the city limits of Portales. And within our contract, it's asking that, would we be willing to? Well, we're willing to now. And so I guess the contract worries me, just the words of it, why we have to have that in there, about us coming, responding in those areas. If I'm wrong, please let me know. We do provide an EMT service, and I can't do anything but praise Portales for coming and assisting us with paramedic intercepts. This last week, we had one for an example, and the man's having severe chest pain, and our level of EMT service, we can give him oxygen and baby aspirin, possibly a nitro. He had already taken one on his own, but a paramedic intercept immediately came in. They IV'd the man while we were still in our district. And then on the way to the hospital, they gave him other pain management things and made his outcome much more favorable. And I don't believe they have to do that for us. And so I'm concerned with us getting into this push-pull against the Portales Fire Department or City of Portales that I'm hearing a lot is happening from dispatch services trying to be moved. I just totally disagree with that. I've been in this little line of work as a police officer, as a fireman for over 40 years, and I just see some issues with it. I believe that our county, it's our neighbors, that we should find a resolution to get along here in some way and not get into, we're going to move our dispatch to Lee County. It may work just as well. I can't believe it will. I can bring up several scenarios where I think it will cause delays in some very critical situations. And I see a problem. I know we have the option as a city in Portales. I believe fire department has an option as a city to, their number one priority is the city limits. And so outside the city limits, they determine how many vehicles they want to send to that. And a horrible scenario, but they can send one truck to a structure fire out in the county because their priority is here in the city limits. And I don't believe we should get into that push of making them say, we're not coming out there, we'll send you one, because we're still upholding what we want to do, or we're upholding our agreement that we will respond. ELIDA has that same response. We do not have to send 5 trucks to a structure fire in the county. We can send one. It's if we determine that that's what our primary protection is our city. And so I hope that doesn't come where we're butting heads between the city and the county, and that situation may come up where they withhold some vehicles to protect their city and then rely on us to bring them mutual aid. I think that's just a terrible way to do things for our citizens. Our expertise within our county is limited. We are EMT based, and paramedics are way ahead of us. Their structure fire, their large disaster competency is way greater than ours. So we call on them for big events because their expertise is much better than ours. And I'm going to brag on us. I think we can fight grass fires just as good as they can, or maybe better, because we did it for a long time. But they also can handle paramedic intercepts. They can handle patients so much better than we can. And right now, I believe they're doing that free of charge. And so I'm concerned over this push that they might not, their counselors might say, we'll cut that service off. We'll cut fire service off. We won't. We requested mutual aid, and they went into Chaves County for us last year on a large grass fire. And they do that non-hesitant. Certainly they keep their resources as close as they can, but I hope we don't get it where they even keep more of their resources and send us fewer to help us. I know I'm stepping out on a limb here, but nobody wants to say the T word, and that's the tax word. And I don't know if there's a possibility, if there's a tax out there, a very, very small tax that we could add to our current taxes that would specifically go towards fire EMS. I just asking the question, is there that possibility that could possibly aid in some of this financial problem that we're having between the Portales and us? I think that's what I've got. I'm pretty chasing squirrels. I appreciate the time to speak to you, and I would certainly be open to any questions too if you got one.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. In your thing, you made a comment that you feel like that you understand that Portales is doing this free of charge. What do you mean by that?
The intercept that they just did this last week, I did not believe they bill for. Our department bills the patient. Am I wrong, sir?
As far as the PRC billing, you're correct.
Okay.
So I want to ask you then. So when you do an intercept for Portales or whatever, Elida, they bill. You guys do not bill for that call. Okay, so that's when we get the money. So even if the intercept, even if you guys check them in, take them and check them into the hospital?
The only way we bill is if we transport in our ambulance. It's the originating ambulance that transport the patient that has the duty and the right to bill.
Okay. That is something I did not understand, that when you do an intercept, because I know that you bill, so well, I guess what we need to figure out on that portion is if they are going to do an intercept and only one ambulance is going to get paid, which department is it, or how are we going to do that? Because like you just said, I don't think that's fair that if they do an intercept and any one of the fire departments or one of the ambulance services need help and they need a paramedic intercept and the paramedic comes and jumps in their ambulance and goes on to the hospital, that they're not getting compensated for that, because they did just take a paramedic out of Portales and send it out for off the grid for an hour or so. And so I do understand that portion of the payment. That is something that I had not even thought of before. So I am very glad you brought that up. I did not understand that to work that way.
Chairman. So with that being said, why has that not ever been an issue before now, that the intercepted ambulance not getting paid?
I think it's just been there. As a neighbor they just come and service us. But I just hear this conflict between the city council of Portales and the county commissioners of Roosevelt, and they're his boss, and y'all are not even my boss because we're Elida within our city council. But I don't think I believe they have the power to say, TJ, you will not send a paramedic intercept to help Elida.
But I guess you don't understand my question. Why hasn't that never been addressed on getting paid before, in the past? That's the question. How come that has never gotten paid? That intercepted ambulance, how come it has never been paid?
That's the way the PRC tariff is written and has been for my entire career. So I don't have an answer.
So really and truly, that is not a Roosevelt County, City of Portales issue. That's above and beyond right there. That should,
Getting paid or not, yes, but
that's what we're
just him
talking
responding,
about.
just him responding, I don't believe he has to
No.
send us one, because his primary concern is the city limits of Portales. That's why in the county, certain places he can send one fire truck to a structure fire, because his primary concern is here when, and then just request that we bring the rest of the help.
Well, I just hope you understand that it's not just Roosevelt County commissioners holding this up with the city of Portales.
No, I understand, but I understand also there's 3 brand new city councilors on Portales, and I hope, I don't know if they've been sworn in yet or not, but I hope there's some different understanding there possibly, that could get some different thoughts or ideas out there. The dispatch center, it does worry me. I believe you're going to get a new governor in a year. Is this regional deal really going to fly through? How soon is it going to fly through? If it's next year, then there's some urgency. But if it's not, if it's just in the thought process, I don't know that we need to be jumping that far. And I know the county or the sheriff's department has the big issue there, and we're minor to them. But still, I just don't see the reasoning how we can't see how to get along with Portales and keep our dispatch center here, where we're talking to each other very easily, and now we're getting Hobbs talking to Portales, talking to us on things. And
You do realize that we are under a contract already with the city of Portales, that we have already resolved the dispatch issue right now. That we've already set it up. We've paid, 2 years now? Is that correct? We're in the middle of the second year on paying dispatch. That part has already come to an agreement. If we choose to go to Lee County Dispatch, that's something that's in the future. That's not something that's on the table right now. We've already resolved that portion of the agreements with the city of Portales. So that's not something that's in the works right now. We've already done that. We've been paying our bill to the city of Portales for dispatch services. So right now, we already are under contract with the city of Portales for dispatch services. So that's not something that's.
And why are we looking possibly to go to Hobbs?
We're looking at
Because-
regional dispatch. There's a lot of things, and we have to, be ahead of the game, because it's going to take over a year before you'll be able to get all the towers up and everything else to be able to even have something like that go into effect.
Sure.
It's not something that can just happen overnight. So it's something you just keep your eye on to see which way you're going to go.
That's why I ask, is it a governor idea? Because you will not.
The state police has already went to regional. They're in 3 regions. The state police is right now.
So
And it's working on, they're wanting, down the pike is the county region. They're wanting the counties to go regional. But the state police is already in 3 regions.
State police also took all their state police officers out of small towns and centralized them in a main location, just to the same kind of idea, and it hurts us.
Dang right, it hurts us.
And so I'm just worried about, it's very easy for Portales Dispatch to understand with who we work with, comparing to Hobbs Dispatch, understanding our local area and what we're going to do. And if I just believe it's way down the road, then I don't believe that a new governor can come in and squash that in a hurry if he or she doesn't believe it's the right thing.
And you also were talking about the PRC is the one that, TJ, that you said that the PRC is the one that sets that only one person can bill. and it's the ambulance. So I think what everybody needs to understand is we know that this is a safety issue for all of the residents, that this is a huge safety issue. At the same time, we're also having to make agreements with several different things with the city of Portales. It's not just one spot. It's not just EMS. It's not just dispatch. We've also got detention. So when we run into detention, it's pretty much the same thing as what you're talking about. State statute says this, and it depends on how you interpret it, but state statute says this, so I'm going to go with this on this one, but we're not going to go with state statute when it turns around and comes over here. So we're going to have to find some safe ground, because where state statute requires, if you want to say, which we're on different sides of the fence on what the state statute reads on who is responsible to pay for the detainees after they're booked. So, or they're arraigned. So we're having that battle with detention on what state statute says. But then when it comes to the fire and EMS, it's required that the one ambulance gets it so the other one doesn't have to respond. But then we want to go state statute this way on this one, but a different way on the other one. And we can't do that. We have got to be good stewards of the money for the county. So we have to, it's not just one avenue that we get to look down. We have to look at the whole picture that we're coming into play with, because when we fix one thing or we give here, how is that going to affect the other things that we have to come to agreement on? We have tried calling everything a wash and doing county does things for the city does things for county, and we just do it and do it the neighborly way, like we brand together, like we do all kinds of things together. That didn't come to fruition. We've tried several different ways. We have got the dispatch under control. We are trying to get through these next two things. The detention is a huge blow to the county. It is a huge blow. Like, I'm sure that the fire and EMS is a huge blow to the fire department. So we have to decide where we're going to give and where we're going to take, because we're going to have to work together on both of these. And it just seems to be that right now, where I feel like we are, and this is just my personal opinion, it's not of the board, I'm not speaking for the board. My personal opinion is that the city has got their feet dug in the ground and they're at a standstill. This is a fact. This is what we want, and we're not going to budge. Well, it can't work like that. It's going to have to be give and take. But I do appreciate all of your comments.
Well, I'll shut up, but I hope the three new counselors have a different outlook possibly. And then again, our contract that we have with y'all, where y'all give us money, I mean, we're concerned about the language in it, where it talks about auditing our books, and we understand you need to make sure what we're spending it is fire and EMS related, but we don't believe that you ought to have that. And then where it starts talking about us coming, increasing our area where we can come possibly up to Portales city limits as part of our agreement. We don't agree with that. And we take care of ours.
Can I interject?
I'm sorry.
Can he break in?
Yes, please. I'm done. I'm sorry.
I just, now that the thought is fresh in my mind, I would, number one, like to echo what Commissioner Dixon stated. Number two, research will show that traditionally these services have always been in-kind services, where Roosevelt does for the city does for the county. I'm a realist, and the bottom line is the last 2 years within city government or governmental entities, it's a money issue. And I truly feel that financially entities are in a bind, and they're just looking for different resources to have to up taxes to try to get some monies coming in, because in my opinion, the city government right now is hurting financially. So they're just looking at different avenues to tap into. I like what Mr. Chenault said about researching the idea of imposing, even if it's a small tax, to kind of throw into the pot and help all entities, because like Commissioner Dixon said, we've got to be good stewards of taxpayer money, but we also have to take care of each other. City of Portales is Roosevelt County and vice versa. And with that being said, I just want to thank everybody that was in attendance there today to discuss this very, very important issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for your time. My name is Paul Luscombe. I'm the fire chief with the Door Fire Department. I've got about 26 years on the Door Fire Department, 19 as its fire chief. I'm going to echo a lot of what Chief Chenault has said, because as you all know, the county fire department is like one big family. All the municipalities within the county, even the county fire departments, we're all like one big united group. As a matter of fact, Dora, Causey, Millicent basically are one fire department at this time, because we share so many mutual people within our departments. The language that the fire department, Dora Village of Dora and the Dora Fire Department had objections with was in the first piece was that the response would be within Roosevelt County. So therefore, when we talk to our legal and they advise us that in the case that Portales does, in case TJ gets his hands tied and he is forced to pull that municipal boundaries, which I want to make it real clear right now. TJ has never in any way, shape, or form advocated for that. He has always advocated with us and for us to all stay together, to all keep working together. I can remember when this young man started on my fire department when he was 16 years old. So I've known him his whole life, and I can vouch for his character. Maybe more so than mine. But what we're looking at is if they do force him to pull back, to his municipal boundaries out of his control, that would increase my department's call volume by over 450%. The monetary value within the contract used to be $7,000. It was reduced to $5,000 this year. That monetary value in association with the liability incurred in that contract, there's no way that we can fiscally be responsible to make that type of a decision. The county fire departments, correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl, but it's $750 a box for your drugs. Is that correct? And $150 additional for each ambulance. So each one of these county departments is incurring multiple increases in our cost. The cost of units. We bought an ambulance back in 2006 and it cost us $105,000. We bought a new one this year and it was $312,000. To replace any of our fire units that were $200,000 engines, now we're looking at over $700,000. So our costs have increased dramatically, and the cost to provide those services, as y'all know, with everything y'all do, has increased dramatically. It's been brought up in the past, and I'm glad y'all clarified the PRC adequacy, because when we call, which we've done 3 times in the last month with them at 3 o'clock in the morning, we had one the other morning and they were there at 3 a.m. They sent a crew out for us. The billing entity is the transporting entity. So only the transport agency can bill that patient or bill that. So they do that really for free for us. I won't say it's all free because it all works out, because we come back and we help him with he has fires. When it comes to fires, like Daryl said, we bring a gun to a gunfight. When it comes to EMS, we bring a knife, and these guys are our gun. So we need them. We have to have them. So we've got to get this figured out. As far as the billing, I know it's been brought up in the past as far as what we're getting paid for on grass fires within the county. We are paid we're paid by the state forestry, and it's all based off the type of engine that you have, the gallonage of that engine, the pump on that engine, and so forth. I'm just going to be frank with you. I'm lucky with what they pay us if we can break even per truck, per call. I go on a 3-hour fire, I get $85 an hour for that truck, and then I come back and I put $120 worth of diesel in that truck, or $150 worth of diesel in that truck. God forbid we lose a tire, anything else in the process of that. We pay our volunteers out of the money that the state forestry pays us, which is about $11 per person. So we pay our volunteers $33 to spend $24 worth of gas in their time to come out and fight that fire. So, I mean, the thought that the fire departments are actually getting a lot of this reimbursed is not is not totally there. Yes, there is some reimbursement there, but it's very rare that we break even on it. So where we're funded is, like Daryl was saying, we're funded by the state fire marshal's office, and we're only funded on our municipal boundaries. So everything that we do outside of the municipal boundaries, we rely on subsequent funding, such as county funding, such as state forestry money. That's what we utilize that money for, is to pay for those costs outside of our municipal boundaries. The state fire marshal's office will not allow us to put gas in a grass fire truck. If we go out on a grass fire, we are not allowed to use state fire marshal money to put fuel back in the truck. They're that particular about how we do this. So steps outside of municipal boundaries cost these fire departments. You asked really, why has this not been brought up in the past? Because we care about each other. We've always helped each other. We've always done this, but it's gotten to a point with everybody, with you guys, with the city, with the communities, cost. It's getting to the point where we cannot afford to continue to do business the way we've done it in the past. And that's just, it's not because we don't want to, it's because we can't afford to. We can't keep these trucks going. We can't keep these ambulances going. And the main thing I don't want to see is, I don't want to see this impasse cause future ramifications as far as what Chief Lane described as affecting our taxpayer base, affecting these people. Because we can sit up here and we can argue about this all day long, and we'll argue about it. But in the end, the people that are going to pay for it are going to be the people that we can't respond to, because we've got people that are arguing, and his counsel pulls back. My counsel tells me to pull back. Daryl's counsel tells him to pull back. Now, who covers all these areas? That leaves Port Arch and Mill and Sand, who are the only two county entities, to cover all that. Well, I know one thing. He can't do it, and I know Russell can't do it, because we're helping Mill and Sand do a lot of theirs right now, because they're down to 2 EMTs. So there's just so much involved in this that I don't think the general public has no idea what happens when you dial 911. They dial 911, somebody comes to their house and they take care of them. They do not realize what it takes to maintain that system, and the manpower hours that it takes to put into that system, with the EMS, with continuing education, all the things that go into it. I know TJ elaborated at the last meeting with you about how much time is involved in the training of each individual to do these things. And then you add that into volunteerism, and these guys are doing this on their volunteer basis. I have 2 EMTs right now that are in Roswell, and they're 5 days a week, and they've got young kids, their moms that have young kids, and they're spending 5 days a week doing 12-hour shifts at ER and everything else to get an intermediate license that doesn't pay them a penny to help out their community. And so I think that's what we need to do as a whole group. I think we need to gain sight on what we're actually looking at. And I know that there's money involved, but I also think that we also are going to have to really look at that money, and we're going to have to start to look at the personal side of this, and what it's going to impact, and who it's impacting, and how it's impacting everybody. I know nobody in this room wants this fight. Nobody in here wants to see anybody in this position. Nobody in here wants to have a loved one hurt. Nobody wants to ever dial 911 and not get that response, because as a county, bar none, we have the best. I put us up against any county. The only county that might be able to give us a run for our money might be Lincoln County. And that's a hospital-run ambulance service. That is not a county or municipal-run ambulance service. As far as the county goes, we have 6 great departments, volunteer and another paid. We cover this county, bar none. You folks are getting the best fire and EMS service that you can possibly get. And I just want you to know that's where your money's going. It's not going to the other side or to this loggerhead or anything else. It's going to help these individuals in these departments maintain equipment that's skyrocketed, and to buy the equipment, the drugs, everything else, all that stuff. The 911 costs a fortune, and I know it does. And I apologize. I know I'm rambling on, and I don't want to do that for y'all, but I just want y'all to understand that that's the issues that the Village of Dora had, was with the monetary, with the county-wide provisioning as far as a response district. And as Daryl said, we agree we need to be accountable to you for what we spend your money on, but there's to a certain point. I mean, you're hiring me to do a contract for you. If you're hiring me to cut your lawn, I don't want you to come out there and tell me, you got to mow it this direction or that direction. I just want to know that at the end of it, I've mowed your lawn the way you want your lawn mowed, and it's done. So thank y'all for your time. I appreciate y'all. If there's any questions y'all have for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
I would also like to state for the record that I am on the Lida Volunteer Fire Department. So if anybody has a problem with me voting or whatever, I just wanted y'all to know that I am on there. So I have had several complaints brought to me about this agreement. Did you want to speak to Tony?
You know, I'm the clerk. I'm the secretary for the fire department. I present the contract to the fire department, let them decide, and then whatever they decide, I take it to the council. In my opinion, as the clerk, one of the main ones is it says that if the county comes to one of our fires, the county can't be held liable for any problems. Well, they're not on our insurance, the maintainers and stuff. You know, what if they're out there and they do get hurt? Who is responsible then if that contract says the county can't be held liable for anything? That's one of my biggest things, because that's what I told them. I said, if you sign this, do we need to put them on our insurance? Because we don't have the money if something happens to one of y'all's maintainers or one of your guys. We financially cannot take that for the Village of Floyd. And that's one of my biggest, that's what I presented to them, was that one that really bothered me. So needless to say, we hadn't taken the money in like 3 or 4 years. Yeah, we hadn't signed the contract in 3 or 4 years because we just can't take that liability on, in my opinion. Now, I don't know why the fire department and the council, well, I do know, but I'm not going to indulge and talk the reason why they don't want to. They could have come to voice their opinion. But in my opinion, that is a big problem that I saw as the clerk.
Mr. Chair,
Please,
if I may?
Mr. Attorney, go ahead.
Just a couple of things, and to respond to this lady's question here, or her point. And I'm looking at paragraph 6 of the agreement with Floyd, and it reads, each entity will be subject to liability in accordance with the New Mexico State Tort Claims Act and/or Civil Rights Act. And basically what that says, I mean, it just states a fact about what the state of the law is in New Mexico, that everybody's going to be responsible for their own torts. And it doesn't make you responsible for Roosevelt's torts or vice versa. So it doesn't, I don't think that, and of course you probably want to talk with your own attorney about it if you think if you think that there's something to disagree with, but I think all it does is say, everybody's going to be responsible for their own negligence in New Mexico. And that's just stating what the law is. And the law is comparative fault. So whoever had whatever proportion of fault, that's how it would shake out. And a court would be the one to decide it. So I think it's probably kind of, I don't think it's dangerous. I really don't. I think it just states what the law is. So, and then there's another question too that I wanted to respond to. The gentleman was talking about auditing the books, and there's a state statute that actually entitles the government to do that. And so there again, that word audit is kind of scary, but all it really is saying is, again, it's just stating what the law is, that the government is entitled to review the books of anybody that it contracts with. And it's only on that specific subject too. So it's not like, Roosevelt can go in and look at all your books. It's only on that particular issue. So there again, it's fairly benign. And the other aspect of it is that, if you think about it in terms of like IPRA, inspection of public records, all that stuff is subject to IPRA anyway. So it's not like Roosevelt has any kind of incentive to be looking over your shoulder. It's just, again, it's kind of just stating what the facts of the law are. And then there was one other question too about, and I'm not sure I completely understand it, but I think it had to do with paragraph 1 about responding to distances or boundaries. I'm not quite sure I understand it, but and maybe if you could express your concern one more time, sir, then maybe I could give you a better answer.
If there becomes a disagreement between Portales and the county, and the Portales, they get a call in the county, Amber, your house is on fire where you live. Portales sends one truck. Are you going to ask us to come farther? Now I feel like it's going to make us we're going to be called more often by Portales when they have to go outside their city limits. I believe that scenario could come up real easily if there's push-pull between the cities of who's going to respond to where and how much we're going to respond with. Because he controls if he wants to send 3 trucks or 1 truck. And if he gets pushed from his city council, we're going to send 1 truck to county fires, then that's going to be a bigger burden on us. And that's where I thought the language was saying, hey, are we going to have to come?
You know, I'm not seeing that that's even contemplated with this agreement between Floyd and Roosevelt. And it may be something that you're aware of just in terms of logistics about how things actually operate. But I don't see how this says one thing about it one way or the other in the agreement. So I would suggest, you know, if you have some language that you think would protect Floyd, please. Elida. Sorry. Well, everybody.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
We don't.
The issue that we had with it was the actual first paragraph here where it says emergency services to citizens of Roosevelt County, including fire and ambulance services. There's no designation of ISO districts. There's no designation of anything else. So as he pulls back to his municipal boundaries, that increases our liability because now we are bound to comply to Roosevelt County, not to our ISO district.
So let me try to restate it and see if I'm understanding properly. So your concern is that each of you is responsible for all of Roosevelt County.
As that contract
Is that so? 2 things on that. One is this clause that you're looking at is a whereas clause, so it doesn't really bind you necessarily. It's not what you're necessarily agreeing to. It's just stating the factual background of the agreement. And so I don't think you have too much to be worried about with that. But if you are, please just send some language that you would be comfortable with, and we could work on that. Because I think you have a good point, but I don't think it. I mean, I think you have a valid concern. I don't think that's part of this, though.
Well, we've already run into this with our public regulation with the PRC certificates. It's the same situation with the PRC certificates. All the entities in Roosevelt County currently have a PRC certificate that reads that they will respond anywhere within Roosevelt County. So what we've already been given by the PRC is that say Melansan gets towed, Melansan can't respond. Dora gets towed, Dora's the next in the line. Dora has to respond to that call. If Dora doesn't respond to that call and something happens to that individual, then we can be held by the PRC because of our non-response to that. Because we can be called, as it reads right now, we can be called anywhere in Roosevelt County, and we are required to respond to that.
So my suggestion is, and I think you all would probably be better at articulating it than I would, put the language that you think would help. And I'll see if we can work it into it, because I think I think there's a way to address all that, and maybe you even have some other background documents that kind of state what those boundaries are. You could even include it as an exhibit to the agreement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The liability issue that she brought up, I want to give you a scenario. If you're on my fire, I'm command of the fire, and I call for your county road graders, and one of them gets burned over and hurt, person's hurt, the road grader's gone. That's where we're concerned about the language saying we're liable for it because I'm in command of the fire.
I don't think it says that you're liable for it. I think it says that everybody's liable for their own torts. That's how I read.
I'm command, and I ask this road grader to go to this spot, and they get burned over, then they're responding to what I told them to do.
Well, I'm not a judge, and actually, I'm not a jury because that's where the problem would be. But part judge, part jury. But that's something that if somehow is something that negligence would have to be sorted out. And I mean, it's kind of hard to forecast all those possibilities, but if you were not negligent in asking somebody to go to a particular scene, you're not on the hook for it.
So if a road grader gets burned up, we're not responsible to pay for it if I'm the one that told him to go there.
So I'm going to give you the lawyerly answer, and pardon me.
I don't like lawyers.
Neither do lawyers. So, but the answer is not necessarily. I mean, it just depends on who is at fault. So.
Okay.
May I have that's a pretty vague answer, man, Michael. There's a lot of gray area right there.
There is, but I don't want to tell you something that I can't, that when
So
you
it's
have
a
a
possibility that they could be liable.
it's a slim possibility.
Yes.
But
And if there's a slim, there is a good chance.
you're talking about comparative fault. And so, I mean, I could spend an afternoon talking about it.
That's okay.
But
that's what we don't like in the contract.
so my suggestion is send me language that you would like, and we'll look at it and see if we can work it in.
I also had a couple of people, back to what y'all were talking about earlier, like distance. So if, say, for example, they do cut it back to just the city of Portales, which I'm not saying would be you, I'm saying your council. So if they did cut them back, so if Elida, for example, if we get toned out and we have to come this side of Delphus from Elida for an accident or whatever, or a fire, whatever it is, we have our volunteers, but again, we're all volunteers. So we all have other jobs. We're not all sitting at a station just waiting for something to happen. So when we come in from wherever we're at, get to the station, we come down here, we get down here. If Portales isn't coming, we have to bring more trucks. We've just left Elida wide open if something happens there. And more times than not, we've had more than one thing going on, especially with fires. When the lightning starts, you'll get one here, one there, one there, one there. We get trucks that we try to leave something right there in Elida. So if something happens there, we can still take care of our people, because we're having to leave the city limits to get to whatever else we need to do. So I think that when we get to that distance, that is a very important thing that we need to talk about if they do draw back, because it's going to put all the volunteers, and we already have trouble with volunteers. I mean, Elida's blessed. We have a great set of volunteers there, but the volunteer fire departments, it is hard, and it is hard with the cost and the hours that it takes to keep your certifications and things, especially for a volunteer, because again, we're not getting paid, but you're taking off work to go keep up with these hours to do this. And then a lot of times you get them in there and you get them trained and get whatever. Well, then they get certified, because these county fire departments get them certified. Then they'll leave and go to a paid place or whatever. But with that, I also had several people that have talked to me that a lot of the problems were the money. So we're going to give them the money, and then we can audit books, or we can do whatever. And I understand that you say statute says we can. Again, with statute, I realize that there is statute that says this is the exact way it is, and there is some that says this is allowed. There's a huge difference. Just because some things are allowed doesn't mean they should happen. And my personal opinion is, if we're given $3,500 to $7,000 to a rural fire department, that is a drop in the bucket. And I don't care personally whether they use it to do their stipends for their people, if they buy uniforms, if they go out on a fire. We've been out on fires before. We had one way out south of Kenna, and there's a big fire out there. They're out there all night long. If we want to take food out there to them, take water, take whatever, this would be great money that they could use to take food out there to these firefighters that have been out there for 10 hours or whatever. And so I don't think this is money. And And that's another thing, because when we are talking about auditing their books, they have auditors. Their municipalities have their own auditors. They come in, they get audited just like everybody else. So why do we need to audit what they do with their money? And I think that's something that should be completely removed from that, because my personal opinion is it doesn't matter what they do with it.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Dixon, we could take that out,
Mm-hmm.
but the law would still be the same. It would still be allowed. So
Right.
even if we take it out, it's still allowed by law to be audited.
Right.
And so, I mean, it doesn't change the law. All it does is just change what's recognized in the contract. So it doesn't really change any realities. All it does is change the language of the agreement. So if people are bothered by the language in it, the possibility of an audit, the possibility of an audit doesn't go away just because we took it out of the contract.
I understand that, but if,
Perspective, who's liable for the payment of that audit?
I don't think that it's really, and I think it's really just like an inspection of records.
Oh.
I think that's really all it is.
but if it's the audit, I mean, it's not just the audit portion, because if you want to go in and look, go look. But if it's not earmarked, like we're not saying you can only use it for this, this, and this, then what are you gonna check for?
I think that's a good point. If you're talking about putting restrictions on how the money can be spent,
Right.
that's a whole different question. Because that's not even, as I can read the agreement, that's not even in the agreement. I don't think the agreement puts any restrictions on how the money can be used. I mean, it's understood that it should be used for fire purposes. So, I mean, but again, you could take it out, but it doesn't really change anything about what the legal obligations of both parties are.
Okay, I appreciate y'all showing up today. And I appreciate your talks that you give. I understand. And hopefully we'll make it work in the future. And now we're going to move on to item 6, resolutions, ordinances, and proclamations. Item A, discussion of Roosevelt County Ethics Ordinance. Commissioner Criswell.
I think there's some problems with this Roosevelt County Ethics Ordinance. Number one, it hampers transparency between the employees, like us and us commissioners, head departments. You know, the employees of the county, they voted just like you and I did, and the rest of the people in this county. If they want to voice a concern that's within their department and they don't feel like they can go to their head or to the manager and they want to voice it to us, I think they should be able to. And a lot of this ethics ordinance prohibits that. And
Before we go in, because I need to know what part of it. I need to know what portion so I can read back.
an ordinance relating to the promotion of the ethical conduct of public officials within Roosevelt County and addressing interference by county commissioners or other elected officials. That's the heading. Right there is what I'm talking about. Interference is the word in there, the key word. Like I say, there's a lot of that I don't like. A lot of that my constituents do not like. Constituents voted me in here. I want to do what they want. We're the ones spending their the taxpayers' money. And so I want to make the motion to do away with this Roosevelt County Ethics Ordinance. And that's what I want to do. So I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been read or been proposed that, and a motion has been made and seconded. We will have a vote to do away with the Roosevelt County ordinance, ethics ordinance.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like discussion.
Yes, please.
Okay, by doing away with this ethic ordinance today, why wouldn't we be able to just come up with a new ethic ordinance, then consider the dismissal of the one we have now? We can't be without an ethics ordinance. If there needs language to be recommended to be changed, I'd rather do amendments, would be my opinion, to do the amendments, and then to put it up for vote after the amendments is fully reviewed by the Board of Commissioners. That would be my recommendation, rather than just doing away with it right now, here and now.
First of all, I don't think we can do it that easily, Dennis, but
I'm going to come up with a new one.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. But first of all, he has made a motion and a second. We have got to do a vote, and then we can go back and propose what you're talking about, maybe.
Well, I think that's putting the cart before the horse. I just don't think that should be protocol. But this is my opinion. And I would request a recommendation from legal counsel as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
He has asked for your personal advice, and I think I'm supposed to follow protocol or whatever. If a motion and second has been made, do we not have to have a vote? We can have discussion, yes, but all in all, we do have, unless it's retracted, doesn't it have?
Well, we could open it up for debate.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
I think that a way to handle this particular question is that Commissioner Lopez's comments are part of the discussion about the motion. And so then I think you'd still have the motion and the second and the vote. I think your vote can be informed by Commissioner Lopez's comments.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
I understand.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, I would like to say that I think that if there's something that, because you have to post these and they go, we have to come up with them and then you post them and it goes 2 weeks and whatever, that I don't see any reason why we couldn't do away with it. It just came into fruition in 21 anyways. Isn't that right? The first 2018. So, I mean, we could do away with it and then we could make up a new one if that's what the commission desired, make a new one and post it, because it still would have to be posted for 2 weeks, and just start from ground zero and rebuild it. I mean, I myself have several things in here that I don't like. I've had constituents, I've had employees from Roosevelt County tell me things they didn't like. I know that I have brought up to several times that, people feel like they can't talk to us and they can't come to us. And it's been said, no, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that they can't, but I don't think there's a lot of transparency here. And I know myself, when I was first on the commission, I had said, it was after this had been implemented, I had talked to my blade operator at the time in my district. And I had asked him, I said, I would love to get with you, once a month or something, if we could sit down and talk and you could tell me, what you see in the roads, because I think that you see the roads every day. I think you know what's going on. I would love to hear what you have to say and where you think we could make improvements on the roads. And he goes, ma'am, I was already told that I am not allowed to talk to you or I will be fired. He said, we have an ethics ordinance and I am not allowed to do that, flat out. Whether or not he was, the way he read it let him feel like he couldn't. Ricky Lovato, I had talked to him one day. He said, ma'am, I am not allowed to talk to you. You need to go through Miss Hamilton. I said, I called to say, hey, we got some cattle guards or whatever that I thought needed to be done or road that needed attention. I wasn't telling him what to do, telling him what was out there. And his exact words to me, he said, you know what? I would not mind you calling me, but I've already been written up once and I'm not going to do it again. So please go through Miss Hamilton. That's exactly what he told me verbatim. So whether or not that's what it means in here, I think that a lot of times things get misconstrued because I don't think it's transparent enough. I would like to see us just do away with it, start over, and be more understanding of people. I don't like the whole part about the elected officials. As elected officials, we all have a state ethics ordinance that we abide by. That is what we go by. We are elected officials. We are not employees. We are elected officials. Ms. Sanchez is an elected official in her department. I think that department is up to her. She is the elected official over that. And the title itself, to me, I have had more people comment, and people comment from other counties that say, really, interference by the county commissioners and other elected officials? You do realize you are the county commissioners. So I just think that I would like to see it just, I agree with Commissioner Criswell. I would like to see it just done away with. And if we want to do something for the employees, I would like to see us start over from ground zero. We could build something. We can take this, we can build something, but I would like to do it with the other department heads, whether it's the sheriff's department, the treasury, every department. Let them help put in what they think if we're going to do an ethics ordinance for their employees. I think it should be a group effort. We are a family here in Roseland County. I think we could all work together to build something that all of the department heads were comfortable with.
Okay.
All I have.
Well, I tend to agree with Mr. Lopez. If we do anything, it can be amended. I am not in favor of doing away with this ethics agreement or ordinance that we have. That's just my personal opinion.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Is an ethics ordinance a requirement for every county? Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
Treasurer Sanchez, I don't know that it's a requirement under state law. I could check, but I just know that everyone has one.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, but I don't know where it is in statute that it says that you have to.
Okay.
Please go ahead, Mr. Savage.
I have read down through this ethics ordinance several times. And I think it lends itself to some differences of interpretation. As far as I'd like for somebody to point out to me where in this ethics ordinance says commissioners can't talk to the employees. I thought it specifically said that we could to obtain information. To me, the ethics ordinance spells out that we are not to direct employees how to do their jobs. But as far as the commissioners gaining information, I couldn't find anything when I read it that prevented me as a commissioner from gaining information from any employee or any employee providing me information. So if you say, well, what I'm having trouble sorting out in my mind is why we want to do away with the whole ethics ordinance, because when I read it, it contains a lot of sound advice. I like a lot of what it says. I agree with my colleagues when they say we should be able to talk to the employees and employees talk to us for the purpose of gaining information only. And I don't think any of the commissioners are wanting to dictate how people do their jobs. But I think we definitely need to be able to talk to those employees. And as Mr. Crystal said, those people voted for us just like everybody else. And if they want to talk to us and voice their opinion, I want to listen, because they're boots on the ground. They know what's happening in their departments. And if they feel like that they can't have an issue resolved with their superiors, then I think that there should be an avenue for them to approach the commission. And it's been my experience on other boards in working with administrators, and this is just the ones that I've had experience with, not Mrs. Hamilton. My experience with Mrs. Hamilton has been great. When somebody calls me, I call her, and the issue is resolved within, normal length of time. I have no trouble. Like on the potholes, I call her, got the potholes, thanks. And then in a week, within things taken care of. But it's my experience, administrators will give the board what they want them to hear. When you have a problem with an employee, your administrator has an opinion, they handle it, and then when it escalates and it has to go before the board, then they have an opinion, and they share that opinion with the board. Most of the time, the people that have the discrepancy have no opportunity for an input. So the board is hearing one side. So in a lot of instances that I've had like that, I might have been guilty of breaching this chain of command. But when I did personal investigation, I found out, hey, there's two sides to this story. And we need to get all the cards on the table. And there's been instances where I have saved an employee's job because the administration were just going to roll over. So I think there is some opportunity to have input, and I think that's needed. I think that we need to follow the chain of command. It's important to follow the chain of command. If someone calls me with a problem, my first question is, have you talked to your superior about this? And if they have not, I said, hey, until you talk to your supervisor and try to work things out, don't come to me. Because there's a part in this ethics ordinance on down the line that says what happens if we have someone that's just trying to stir up trouble. There should be repercussions for that. But still, I think that something needs to be done to provide an avenue for input. If someone has a problem, they can't get it addressed other than filing appeal to the person who made the decision. So I think there needs to be some amendments. I'm in favor of some amendments, but I'm not in favor of doing away with the whole thing. Doing away with the whole ordinance is like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So, if I had to vote on this now, I'd agree with Dennis. I think that I'd have to vote no, but I think that my position is I want to look at it and figure out, okay, if there's part of this ordinance that you're not comfortable with, that you don't like, what is it? Is it 5C, 6B? What is it exactly that you're not comfortable with? And let's work on that. Let's work on it through amendments to figure out something we can deal with, something we can comfortable with, and provide the opportunities for input from our employees. But I'm not in favor of just doing away with the whole thing.
And that's exactly what I was trying to ask a while ago.
Well, I'll answer your question, Chair, if you'll give me a chance.
What area and which
In
section?
section 6, C.
Hang on, just let me pull it up here. We're on 6.
Section 6C, number 4.
6C4?
Yes, sir. Are you there? The Board of County Commissioners employs a county manager to handle the day-to-day business and general manager of the county. All county elected officials and employees shall follow the established chain of command. However, it is recognized that for informational purposes only, Dialogue between employees and board members may be necessary. Notwithstanding this need, there shall not be any ex parte communications from the employees to the commission or individual commissioners. The commission shall encourage the development, implementation, and enforcement of responsible policies and procedures for efficient operation by the county management staff.
And that's,
Okay.
section 6.
There's the difference of interpretation to that.
So when I read that, when I read it, I say, it's okay for me to gain information, to talk to any employee and gain information. And you're saying no? What is it?
It's the notwithstanding the need. That there, notwithstanding this need, there shall not be any ex parte communications from employees to the commission or individual commissioners. Explain that one.
Okay. So let me share, I'm trying to sort this out in my mind. Okay. I cannot, according to this ordinance, talk to any employee other than to gain information.
I think that one, to me, that one went the other way, what he read. The employees can't come to you.
Exactly.
Is that right?
That's exactly what it just,
That's
that's
how
exactly,
I read.
that's
I-
exactly
I
what it just said.
understood
It's
read
not,
that.
notwithstanding this need, there shall not be any ex parte communications from employees to the commission or individual commissioners.
Correct or wrong? Do we get that wrong?
That's-
Understand that wrong?
And when I became commissioner, you know, and this all stemmed from our text message the other day. And we was all, anyway, when I first became commissioner out here in the parking lot, Amber and Ricky said, made the comment, says, now he says, you can't call me up like you have been in the past. You're going to have to go through Amber. Well, in the past, if I had a problem with the rover cattle guard, I just called him up and said, hey, we got a problem. He'd get this cattle guard cleaned out. He'd say, we'd get to it next 2 or 3 weeks. I said, great. He'd get it took care of. And at that time, when I became commissioner out there in the parking lot, I was told, Ricky even made it, he said, you're going to start going through Amber. You can't just call me up. I said, okay. So that's how it done it. The other day when you called me up, say asking me for Juan's phone number, I made that comment to you. I was like, hey, I didn't think we were supposed to. And you said why? And I thought I didn't think you're supposed to call up the roadhead departments or whatever, call up an employee and tell him I've got a pothole over here on the street needs to be filled up. To me, that's what this says that we cannot do. Exactly what it says we cannot do. Everything needs to go through Amber. To get, and she does it because those are her employees, and I have nothing against that. And but that's the communication type, and maybe that's giving Amber too much power. And I realize there is a chain of command that we need to follow, and then employees need to follow. We all know that we are held to an ethics ordinance, just like this, from the state of New Mexico. Us commissioners and elected officials, we are held to a state ethics ordinance, just like this. And so in this one here is micromanaging the state ordinance. That's my interpretation of it. And
when you said too much power, no, I don't think so at all. I feel like that some people have to. When she tells Juan that we need to go take care of A, B, or C, we're going to do it in that order. And then you call him and tell him to do C, D, and F. Well, we got to start at the top and we got to keep it in line.
I realize that.
And that's the whole purpose of this.
Right.
It's not that she has too much power.
Well,
and she does a wonderful job of what she does do.
Right. But back to my deal when Commissioner Rod called me up asking for Juan's phone number. And he was talking, and I was like, I ain't got it.
Well, I
You
don't
can't
either.
call him up, we can't call him up, because Rod's going to go tell him about the potholes over on the road. I just thought, and this was after the fact that I said I was going to put the ethics deal on the agenda. This was after the fact. It wasn't that phone call had nothing to do with this being on the agenda today. It got put on the week before the week of Thanksgiving, and we was going through there. And Commissioner Lopez made the comment to me, says, just call up Juan, have him get it took care of. Well, I can't do that. Ethics ordinance prohibits that. So there's some contradiction and some hypocrisy going on within this ethics ordinance among us commissioners, and maybe it's just a difference of interpretation. There's 5 different interpretations of this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of laws that there is 5 different interpretations on. And like I say, and that's one thing I think that's probably a problem. There's there is too many laws. And it's hard to follow all of them.
Another thing, as far as jumping on and fixing that problem that you was talking about the other day, when those maintainers en route gets to it, then it needs, unless it is life-threatening situation. Because we can't have them going to the edge of Portales here, then going to Melanson, and then back to the edge of Portales to fix those situations.
That's what they're doing now, and they went right by it going that way. Paul, I'm sorry. They was on County Road 17 over there on Z, off of Z the other day. And they went right by Y, probably went down AC, which would have been 3 miles over from Y, from where this cattle guard was that I was talking about. They went right past it to go off down there on County Road 32 to take care of some of Garland Creighton's cattle guards. That's what they done. They went right past that problem.
Well, I don't know anything about your cattle guards.
Well, it's not even in my district. I just say it's an adjoining line in district over there. It's adjoining line. My wife drives through there every day, and even I go through there all the time myself. That kind of it's been full. I've called it in. Like I said, the guys was working on County Road 17 off of Z back in there, north of Randy Lee's house. And they had to drive right past that cattle guard to get down there to County Road 32. And they probably went to about 3 miles to the west of the cattle guard going down to AC. Down through there.
Can I interject?
But anyway, that's besides the point and everything.
Yeah.
We're getting off the point right there. But my point is, there's a difference of interpretation still. If y'all want to start over, that's fine. I think we need to do away with this deal. There's a lot of constituents that think we need to get away with this. And then bring back something else. A 14-page long ethics ordinance. Yeah. I think we can get by with a page and a half. And
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please, go ahead.
I would like to interject real quick because now that I've been listening to you guys, everybody's got great points and arguments in this beautiful debate we're having. But I think there's 2 parts to this, okay? And I hope that Commissioner Savage can intercede with this since he's also a board member with the school board. I'm going to speak on behalf of the board of directors at Mental Health Resources. Us as a board of commissioners, and maybe Commissioner Savage can talk how protocol, due process, and everything else is with their board. But I think there's 2 issues because no one's ever had a problem to come to me, constituents, employees, this or that, to address something. But if it's tied into the personnel policy and procedure and having to go through HR and or their supervisor, that's one thing. We cannot micromanage. I don't want to micromanage. But if there's ever been an issue with me, I'll be honest with you, I don't have county roads, so I don't deal with as much as you guys do. But I do get a lot of different calls from a lot of different people throughout the community addressing certain issues. If it's something that I could just take care of, like from point A to point B, cool. But if it's something that's a little heavier and it really has to do with upper management, it gets referred to the HR department into Amber. And I make it clear And I said we have to set our boundaries just because of the whole liability. So I think the confusion here is if a constituent or an employee wants to say, hey, hello, la da da, how are things going, and just to build morale, that's one thing. But if they go to a commissioner to do a grievance, that's not following protocol at all. It wasn't at Mental Health Resources, and I guarantee you, I wouldn't think that an employee would go to Commissioner Savage for the school district, would go to Commissioner Savage to do a grievance to him as a board member of the Portales School District. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Savage, but I just think that there's two different things that we're looking at, and I don't want to micromanage, but I also don't want anybody to have power trip either, because no one's ever hesitated to come talk to me about any issue. And I would hope that they don't, and no one's going to tell me that I can't talk to anyone about any county or city issue. So with that being said, I think we need to look at the whole picture right now, and it might be just a little premature to act on this today. I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. I would highly recommend that whoever wants to give recommendations, do a highlight, do some scratches, and put it up for amendment. That would be my opinion. Even if it goes to 1 page, from 14 pages to 5 pages, it doesn't matter. But I just don't feel comfortable getting rid of something today. And obviously, it seems like if I'm going to be the one that's going to be the final decision maker, because obviously I know where 2 commissioners stand and the other 2 stand. And I don't want to abstain because that's just kind of copping out. But I just wish that it would be more thought out and a good recommendation as to what the actual intents are. And maybe, everybody be on the same page where we don't get the feeling that Amber's doing this or doing that in a negative sense through our personnel and upper management position. So I don't know. With that being said, that's pretty much where I stand.
Okay, to make you feel better a little bit, Dennis, I'm going to call on you first to let you vote, so you won't be making the final decision when we do votes.
Are you calling on the vote?
I don't think it's going to be the final decision because I think there's room for improvement. I agree with Commissioner Criswell. I agree with Commissioner Dixon. I agree with Commissioner Savage and with you. I agree with all 4 of you guys, but I'm just not comfortable stripping something that's been in existence. And I know there's room for improvement, and that's what I want to see before me before I make my final decision.
Okay. Nevertheless, I still have a motion on the floor with a second to do away with the ethics ordinance. So therefore, Mr. Lopez, I call on you for a vote.
And I would like to let the record reflect of everything that I've stated, that I want to open it up again. The sooner the better, but I would vote no today. I'm not ready to pass it.
Mr. Criswell?
Yes.
Yes.
Dana? No?
No.
Vote is 3 no votes, 2 yes votes. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. If I
Please go ahead.
make remarks for no questions pending. They voted no, not to do away with it. But my Commissioner Lopez seemed to have an opinion, and it's definitely my opinion. This ordinance lends itself to some amendments. I would suggest that we move forward on taking action to amend those parts. So what I would like to see from my colleagues is, like Commissioner Criswell pointed out, 5C or whatever.
C4.
See, he said, this is wrong. For us as commissioners to look down through that ordinance and say, okay, here's what I think is wrong. This is what I want to see amended, and provide an amendment. This is how I'd like to see it changed. And so I would like to come back. I don't see that there's any rush on this, but it needs to be done next meeting or the next meeting sometime. This come back up with commissioners making some specific amendments, providing some specific opportunity for amendment. the recommendation for amendments. Because I would have been in favor of some amendments. So I'd like to see.
Would that
I'll
be
put this
okay
on the agenda for the next
for the
meeting.
next meeting, and everybody bring their copy of the existing ordinance with their recommendation for an amended area?
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah. Okay, make it so, please.
Thank you, Mr.
Moving on to item 7, procurements, contracts, and agreements. 7A, request for approval of you to utilize CES contract numbers 2023-01-C2112- all for solar project feasibility assessment. Carol.
Hello again. So I was asked to look for some projects on some grants that what we would probably need in the future. And solar project was brought up for the detention center, pavilion, Jake Lopez, and the events, special events arena. And so in my search, I found that we do need a plan or feasibility for that project. In your packet was included the feasibility. And I stand for questions on this.
So you've already got a project scoped out that you'd like to use a solar.
The feasibility, because, you know, anytime that we get a project, we have to have a plan or how feasible it would be to go into a project.
So you're asking now for approval for you to move forward in with the feasibility study.
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't have any question.
I'll second. Go ahead.
I'll move for adoption of 7A.
I'll second. Motion made and second to approve 7A. Dennis Lopez.
Yes.
Yes.
Rod, yes.
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 5 yes votes. Motion passes. 7B, request for approval of grant award 23-ZH5053-4Z. Carol, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to talk? Are you going to talk to us about, we approved 7A. Are you going to explain 7B?
Okay, so 7B is the recreational.
Yes.
Yes, the recreational quality of life grant. And we were approved for $1,011,300 for the fairgrounds. I've got a project budget summary here, and I don't know, we only have 7 months to finish this project. And most of it would probably be shovel ready. We do have $20,500 for plan and design, $125,000 to furnish and equip, and for construction, $865,800. The project would be for ADA bleachers, upgraded restrooms, ADA restrooms, covered horse stalls,
an ADA accessible picnic area for the pavilion. We have until June 30th to finish this, but I will only be here till March. I hope that we could finish it in March. I would love to close it out, but
Carol, if we don't get it finished, you would go ahead and obligate your time to stay at least till June.
till June. I could. I'm very excited about this grant. Very
Well, I'd
excited.
like to make a motion to approve 7B. It's been seconded. And that's only because you're very excited, Carol.
I am.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve grant award 23-ZH5053-42 for the recreational whatever. Mr. Savage.
Yes.
Roy Lee.
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
What great news, guys. Great job. Yes.
Yes, here. 5 yes votes. And next, we're moving on to.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. 7C, request for approval of award contract to supply 3/8 Dynasty steel aggregate to K. Barnett and Sons.
Yes, commissioners, this was the ITB we released a while back. Last commission I had before you to award to J&H. And K. Barnett is the lowest price for the 3/8" minus chip seal. I'd like to request the approval to award them for the 3/8.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made second to approve 7C.
Yes.
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 Roy Lee.
Yes.
Dennis
Yes.
Lopez. 5 yes votes. Moving on to 7D, request for approval to utilize the statewide price agreement, blah, 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 to contract with Summit Food Service. Lily.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, we released an RFP 2 different times for food services for the detention center. And both times we received one responsive proposal from the same vendor. They provided us their best and final offer, but their pricing was nowhere near and significantly exceeded our detention budget. At this time, it would be in the best interest for the county to utilize the statewide price agreement and use Summit Food Service, LLC, as their prices are more in line with our detention budget. We have met with the vendor and we have learned they already provide services to bordering counties, and it would be a smooth transition. With that being said, I'd like to request the approval for food services to Summit, and I will stand for any questions.
I'd like to make the motion to approve 7D.
Second.
And now we have a second.
Yes.
Roy Lee.
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
5 yes votes. 7E, request for approval of intergovernmental agreement with Taos Municipal Schools. Deputy Holmes.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me in here. I know it's been a long meeting, and y'all know I could talk a lot, so I'm going to try to not worry out too much here. With this school resource deputy, the way this came about, we've been working on it kind of behind the doors for about 1.5 years with the intention of finding a way to actually make it happen. We weren't super vocal about it in the beginning because the government's full of broken promises, and we didn't want to just add to that. But as state grants came in and then funding agreements through Portales Public School, this particular stage of the school resource development program deputy program was able to be facilitated. Full disclosure, you'll hear from me again for another one. We're trying to do it in the county as well. We're hoping to implement a true school resource deputy program within Roosevelt County. countywide. That's our goal. So this ain't the last time you're going to have to deal with me. Well, this agreement does lay out, and it's gone back and forth between us and the schools and attorneys, and we've come to a finalized agreement that seems to be the best agreement and the most adequate as far as who's responsible for what and what we're going to do. I don't want to go on forever, but I will say that just a few weeks ago, about 4 blocks from here, schools had to shut down because of a threat. And myself and Sheriff Sanchez, we went to Brown Elementary when that happened, and we went into the schools. We helped to secure it. A lot of little kids were scared. They all had to be in lockdown. And it only drove home to us that this is the most important program in our agency right now. And we want to do everything we can to try to fight for it and make it happen and make it a success. Lots of other things I'll probably come up here and ask for that I'll get denied. I've been trying to get Ms. Hamilton to give me a dirt bike and a helicopter for a year. That ain't gone anywhere. But this one's important, and I would just please consider approving it, and we're going to make this a success and develop this program. And I'll stand for any questions you have. Please ask.
Any questions?
Need a motion.
I would like to, I move that we approve 7E and the request for approval for intergovernmental agreement with Portales Municipal Schools.
Well, I'll second that.
Mr. Chairman, just for point of clarification, I was going to make the motion myself. There's no conflict with Commissioner Savage being part of the school board.
He is no longer on the school board, sir.
Okay, so you just enlightened me. I had no idea.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're good.
Man, I had a lot of people fooled up. Thought I was important.
Okay, let's get back to business. Motion has been made and seconded to approve 7E. Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Tina?
Well, I would just like to say that as much as I agree with all of this, I still think that it should have went to the rural schools first. And it's not that I'm not about Portales schools, but I think we should have worried about our county schools first. So I'm still a no.
Okay.
I'm going to vote yes, but I want you to stay up there for a minute because I have
You
some
bet.
questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have 4 yes votes, 1 no vote. Motion passes.
Chairman, may I have
Go ahead.
what have you and Javier come up with the other schools that we went and
Yeah, so we met with, of course, all the superintendents. The biggest part of that is just going to be negotiating and finalizing the financial logistics on it, as far as how much each school can put in versus us coming back and asking for more money to offset whatever expenses are going to come to us. So that's the next stage of that. So this is sort of the foundation, and we're hoping that this happens and then gives us a chance to build into to the one for the rural schools. I hate to reduce everything down to money, but it's going to be a matter of, can we put that resource in as it being an additional resource to the community and to the county and to the sheriff's office? Because what we don't want to do, if we can avoid it, is take like a patrol resource, and that's where most school resource programs fail nationwide, not just locally. But if they're short-staffed and they're unable to maintain staffing, once they have to then put patrol, because you got to have somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, that has to exist. So most of those programs, when they run into problems or failures, it's because the staffing logistics aren't sorted out. We've put ourselves in a position where we believe we can at least maintain. I don't want to say we're doing much more than treading water, but patrol-wise, we can handle that. So if we can work out the logistics financially between each of the 3 schools as far as who contributes what amount, and then figure out the money from this end to offset that so that it becomes amicable for everyone, that's going to be the next phase of that, is literally just lining out the monies and then me coming back up here and trying to charm you into letting us do this. So I know that's a reductive answer, but that's really what I mean. It'll be money. And as soon as we can get that in place and we can get a go ahead, we're ready to go as soon as we can make it happen.
Well, they have contacted me and they're waiting on y'all.
And we don't want to keep people hanging.
They're waiting on y'all with some numbers.
Yeah.
Where y'all can go back to them and then you can come to us.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that they're wanting to hear from us again. I mean, we've talked to them, a couple of them follow-ups. So it's going to be coming back with money. It is a money thing. I hate to think of our school safety and our children coming down to a financial issue, but I mean, we're the government and money makes everything work or not work. So we intend to have some meetings with them pretty quick, even if it was right after the Christmas break, but we want to sit down. And some of that would have to be getting with Ms. Hamilton and trying to figure out how much of a percentage can the county handle so that we know exactly how much to ask for each school. I mean, I want to get obviously as much as we can get, but we'll have to figure out it from our end exactly how much can we contribute and then get with the other schools to make sure that we can offset whatever that deficit might be. So I know that was a long answer, but we are working towards it. We want it to happen.
This RSO officer here at Portala, how much is he going to be totally dedicated to Portala schools, or is he going to be, if y'all get a call out, a severe call, or get a call out and y'all are shorthanded, is he going to have to pull off for even though Portala schools is paying half his deal, is that officer going to be there totally, or is he going to have to pull off and go over here to a call or something?
If there was an emergency that happened in the county that we needed additional resources while that deputy was working in the schools, if we needed them, they're coming to help us. I mean, sheriff's office, we're going to handle everything. It'd be the same as if we had a rural deputy and they were in, Door, and we needed an emergency that facilitated us needing more people. We're going to bring our resources in, which we discussed with Portala superintendents. We don't expect that to happen a lot, but when those emergencies happen, we need to pull all available resources. We don't have time to call somebody out from home to get them geared up when we have somebody at the school that would be geared up. So in the most egregious circumstances where we had that emergency, that resource is going to come help. So yes, we would do that.
And just to clarify, that's stated in the
Yes.
Article 2, Section B. The SRD may be temporarily reassigned by the RCSO during school holidays and vacations and during a period of police emergency. Upon such temporary reassignment, they'll make reasonable efforts to provide notice to the district.
And I would like to say, just like you were commenting a while ago about it just happened, a couple weeks ago here
Yeah.
at Chalice. That is exactly my point, because how long did it take you guys to get there versus how long it would take you to get to Floyd?
It's true. Where Sheriff and I were located at the time, we were closer. And as far as how long it would take to get to Floyd or one of the outlier schools, it'll depend on where the deputies are located at that time. If they were out patrolling that area, then it might be kind of quick. It could be a long time. That's the scare and the fear that we do have about the outlying rural schools. And that's why we do want to push to have, I would love you to give me the agreement to have 3 county deputies for school resource. I get that logistically that's not going to happen, at least not anytime soon. But if we can dedicate that school resource deputy into the county, we hope that would make that emergency something that we can respond to faster, because we do have a fear of the timeline. And I sadly have to tell people occasionally that when you're in an emergency that's measured in seconds, sometimes law enforcement's only minutes away. And that's not always the most reassuring thing. And that's why we are trying to do everything we can to put ourselves as close to the most valuable resource in our community, our kids. We're hoping to put ourselves as close as we can to them without having to not respond to the vehicle rollover or not respond to the domestics. We want to put ourselves in a position where we have that controlled as much as we can, and then build on to being out in the county as much. Because it's a perfect point that you're making. It does take a while to get out there, and we want to have resources out there.
Well, this grant that you're using this for this officer, is that not one that you could have used for the rural schools instead?
They could probably be used for any way. At the time that it came up, we had been contacted by some members of Portala School who had offered to pay up to 50%. It was something that it was an effort or something that they needed. They weren't able to maintain one within the city. I'm trying to be polite about how I say that, but there wasn't able to be a resource officer maintained for the Portala schools. So there was just some conversation back and forth. When we were first trying to set out school resource, we didn't know exactly what our timeline would be. And when this grant position came up, we put in for one, not even knowing if that's what we would be able to use it for, or if it would just be a temporary new deputy that would put a badge on the street. So as the school resource thing, those 2 things sort of occurred within a few-week timeline of more and more people reaching out from the schools asking, was there a chance that you could do that? And then this grant coming in. So we're hoping whether we can get more grants or agreed funding. And it did sort of take something we already wanted to do and spark it, that we could keep talking about it or we can get out and make it happen. And when the grant came up and then some personnel asking us if there was something we could do to help, it just ignited us. And it took something that might have taken us another year to implement, or us having to find other ways to implement. And I hate to say it this way, but we ultimately just decided either keep talking and never make it happen, or just go do it. And we're trying to figure it out as we go. So it's not the perfect scenario, but we're just trying to actually get out and do the things that we told ourselves we were going to do and keep our own promises to ourselves. And even the promise to the community that they didn't know we were trying to make, that we were trying to be careful about talking about school resource, because what if we couldn't pull it off? But we had that conversation, and we had that conversation behind closed doors, and we had to look at ourselves in the mirror. And when this opportunity came up to at least start the program, we had to at least push to make the effort. I'd rather fail trying than sit around and think, oh, I could have done something more.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Item 7F, request for approval of grant agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation Traffic Safety Division for Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office.
It's a big day for y'all getting to talk to me so much.
Well, we enjoyed the way you talk.
Well. So this is our standard grant agreement. It's pretty much the one that comes up about every year. We're looking to get approval for the NDWI grant. That would be $4,998. The Buckle Up program would be $2,550. And then the STEP program, the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program, that would be $15,147. These programs do help us as far as offsetting, again, logistics and staffing, because we have guys that are on calls. This helps to facilitate bringing people in essentially on their off time to come in and go patrol high speeding areas where we start to, we all know certain roads that people speed too much on. So we try to target that, put our deputies out there, go out there and get that traffic under control as best you can. The Buckle Up program, there's a lot of people who think, I'm an adult, should I have to wear a ticket? I don't have to wear a helmet on my motorcycle. But what about your top hat? I mean, we all grew up riding in the back of pickups and somehow we survived, but there is the issue of children. So we try to push really hard on child restraints, child safety, make sure you have the right appropriate child seat for your kid. Selective traffic enforcement, again, out there trying to get the speeders slowed down, any reckless issues. The issues we talked about earlier about some of the roads that have the potholes, well, that creates its own unique traffic hazard. And maybe we can get guys out there to kind of focus on that. And DUI, I probably don't even have to, everyone here has been touched by some kind of DUI tragedy at some point in their life. So that is something we need to focus on and make sure that people understand this isn't the place to do that. There's no place to do that, but Roosevelt County is not the place for that. So we would request that you approve this, and we'll do the best we can with it. And I'll stand for any questions.
I move to approve.
I'll second. Motion made second to approve 7F. Dina,
Yes.
Woodley,
Yes.
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 Dennis.
Yes.
7 yes votes. Thank you very much.
You want me to stay up here and read any poetry or anything? No? Good?
Do you mind?
Yeah, you're not going to like it.
Media, I don't see any media. We'll recess and reconvene out at the detention center and do an inspection. And yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just a reminder that the oral argument in the abortion ordinance case is a week from tomorrow in Santa Fe at 9:00 at the Supreme Court, if you all wanted to attend.
It's tomorrow. I thought it was the 13th.
A week from tomorrow. Yeah,
Next
so the 13th, yes.
So you got reservations for us?
I don't even have I'm going to hopefully be able to get in, but I think it's probably going to be a packed house.
Okay, thank you.
How many are going to the detention center for the inspection?
I am
Is Dennis, is he still on there?
going to the jailhouse.
Yeah.
He is, the three of us.
But Dennis is
Dennis
not.
is on his telephone. Dennis?
Is he gonna
So-
go?
Yeah.
We're fixing to go to the detention
D-
center. Do you want to go?
The DUI
No, I cannot
and the
make it.
marijuana,
With the
Okay.
three,
have they
yes.
determined how to
I'm
fix
gonna,
that?
So,
I'm gonna hang up.
well, I can hang up, right?
I'm gonna hang you up. I want to tell you bye.
You guys have a great day.
All right, see ya.